Josuke Nashika, or as people in the community call this variation of Josuke, Gappy for short. He's basically the eighth JoJo in the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure timeline, and the main protagonist of Part 8, JoJolian, and is arguably one of the strongest Joestars so far. Him initially waking up without any memories and is adopted into the household of the Higashitas, and later found out that he's a fusion of two completely different people. But how strong is Gappy and his stance soft and wet? FYI, I might be switching between the names Josuke and Gappy, but just know they're referring to the same guy. Now, in terms of just raw physical strength for Gappy's soft and wet has been shown quite a few times to harm and kill people who were dare to survive Julian's sheer heart attacks explosions. Sheer heart attacks explosions earlier on in Part 8 generated an earthquake so powerful it was shown destroying the coast and affecting central Morio. This feat has been calculated to be around building to city block level. Now, I won't say that Julian characters physically aren't weak, but at the same time, they're not as strong as the original universe characters, mostly in comparison to, say, Jotaro Star Platinum or Theo's The World. Mostly because it's fucking Star Platinum. You know what I mean? Not a lot of stands can stand up to him in terms of raw physical strength, but at the same time, Part 8 characters haven't shown that many crazy physical feats. You know what I mean? But, like, it's still somewhat impressive that you can be scaled to city block level. Now, what makes Soft so powerful is its abilities. You know, its abilities is just really crazy, and it's really complicated to explain depending on who you ask. But either Soft and Wet or Gappy himself can either manipulate pre-existing bubbles or just spawn them in as they so choose, you know. These soap bubbles, in reality, are thin cords of, just cords really that can spin at incredibly high speeds. He can do this with basically a lot of different bubbles. He can create possibly hundreds of bubbles at a time if he really wanted to. These bubbles are actually quite versatile, with each one of them carrying some sort of supernatural ability of sorts, but they do have some pretty basic functions that can be used in ways like, say, using them as magnifying lenses, for example, having the bubbles be used as a full-on bubble platform or something similar to that. Josuke can even use these bubbles to launch people like himself or his foes at extremely high speeds. These bubbles can also store items. He can use the bubbles as protection, like from blades, from shavers, full on poison gas. Even abilities that require direct contact aren't safe from these bubbles. Like they protect him full on. Hell, these bubbles can grow large enough that it can engulf both Gappy himself and his allies to protect him from atmospheric pressure, as well as everything's like impacts and pressures from like a car hitting Gappy, for example. He's actually able to store effects of when they use calamity from like the impact and transferring it to someone else if he wanted to, saving himself from instant death, basically. Josuke's bubbles demonstrated an ability related to fusionism, as he basically absorbed abilities that can blind or bend things together, really, allowing him to instantly graph plans together. As Josephumi, one of the people he's from, basically, and even like seemingly fused his liver back together, just back into his body, and so many more examples can be brought up. Soft and Wet actually has more than one ability, to be honest with you. His other ability being a ability called plunging. If a bubble pops or makes contact close to one thing, it'll quote unquote steal one thing from it and store it at intervals, the bubble prohibiting him to govern the character or substance he took and either unharness it or store it, including multiple properties at once or even just part of something opposed to the whole of it. To be actual, this ability to be will be accomplished to absorb and manipulate. However, it's not restricted to sounds. For example, it basically can take sound away from a condo wall as he smashes through it. The sound from a smash window pipe, of a light switch being turned on, the sound of a fridge door opening and closing, and so many other examples of this ability stealing sound away. There are also other effects on the body, such as taking someone's eyesight away, including only a select amount of their vision, body fucking fluids, uh, and so many other examples like hair. Even having the ability to remove the hair directly and control the shape of the hair upon release, and so many other examples of this ability that it can also affect both sound and physical properties. There's also the fact that it can manipulate fluids and liquids, body fluids, stored and moved into a small fountain. The moisture from something causing it to crumble to dust, coffee to wash away blood, so on and so forth. There's also the fact that Josuke can use sense with this ability. Like, he stored a numerous amount of smells within a bubble that had almost no scent itself. He can also use this ability on mundane objects and just inanimate objects in general, such as money, keys, leaves, candy, pepper, etc. You can also remove the friction from a surface, causing it to become impossibly slippery. He could capture fire in order to put it out. You can also use it on deadly poisonous gases and so on. Josuke's bubbles can also absorb abstract forms of energy beyond just heat and something similar. What Josuke's bubbles can absorb and trap is pretty vast, actually. With all it can do is just haven't been seen yet. Due to Josuke's being a fusion of two different people, that being just Fumi Kujo and Yoshikage Kira, Josuke has aspects from both their abilities and stands, combining both abilities in some way or form. There's also ability Josuke has called Go Beyond, which is probably his most overpowered ability, arguably. Now, it basically takes his bubble ability and runs with it to the absolute extreme. Go Beyond is basically just spinning chords that are infinitely close to zero that becomes practically non-existent. And due to that fact, they actually no longer exist. They are invisible even to whoever stands, even though stands can see ghosts. The downwards, like, side of the whole thing is the fact that Josuke was actually unaware of him having this ability for the majority of the time. Plus, he can't truly control it, nor can he shoot point blank without aid. Yobion's bubbles effectively act as nothing, corresponding to a void of nothingness that hollows out and passes through essentially anything, and inversely can pass through things without harming them at all, as if it's truly not there, such as when Gobion voided a character's chest despite not damaging his clothes, for example. There's so many examples of this ability following that rule, but I won't bore you with the specifics. Due to its non-existence, all that's left is invisible spin. Due to this simple fact, Josuke's bubbles go beyond logic and the law of the world as the spin itself surpasses logic. This allows Go Beyond to remain to be completely unaffected by Wonder Review's calamity. It actually allowed Go Beyond to break the curse and destroy Wonder Review permanently despite its nature as the law of calamity itself that should have never gone away. So, at the end of the day, Josuke is a very powerful character when it comes to abilities. It just seems like the more JoJo as a series progresses, the crazier the main characters or the main villains or both abilities get. Like it started off with like simple old Hamon to fucking this logic manipulating, durability negating, stand using fucker. Like sometimes I just miss the days of scaling JoJo characters where they're just strong, like beefy fuckers, and that's it. You know what I mean? But yeah, Josuke is just crazy fucking powerful due to his hacks abilities. But yeah, see ya.